Hello everybody. I have to say that Herman Hesse's book, Knulp, has had a serious fascination for me over the years. And although I've read it probably now, 10 times, I'm still trying to get to grips with what it actually means to me. It's a fairly simple, straightforward series of stories. But there are parts of it that I think, as a matter of self-reflection, hold some particular insights. Well, those people who know me may be able to draw the comparisons. I'll leave it for you to decide. But for now, I'll start with Herman Hesse's Knulp. Early spring. Once, early in the 90s, our friend Knulp had to go to hospital for several weeks. It was mid-February when he was discharged, and the weather was abominable. After only a few days on the road, he felt feverish again, and was obliged to think about getting a roof over his head. He'd always had plenty of friends. He would have met with a friendly reception in almost every town in the region, but he was strangely proud about such things. And any friend from whom he accepted help could take it as an honor. But this time, he remembered Emil Rotfuss, the tanner in Lechstetten, and at nightfall, amid rain and west wind, he knocked at the tanner's door. Rotfuss opened the shutters a crack and shouted down into the dark street, "Who's there? Can't it wait till daylight?" Tired as he was, Knulp perked up at the sound of his friend's voice. He remembered a little song he had made up years before when he and Rotfuss had been travelling companions for a month, and started to sing it. "A man walked into the hotel after the day was done. I know those tired features well. It must be the prodigal son." The tanner opened the shutters wide and leaned far out of the window. "Knulp, is it you? Is it your ghost?" "It's me," cried Knulp. "But you can come down the stairs. You don't have to jump out of the window." Well, happily, the tanner ran down and opened the little front door. Knulp had to blink when his friend held the smoking oil lamp up to his face. "Now get inside!" Rotfuss cried out excitedly, drawing his friend into the house. "You can tell me all about it later. There's some supper left, and there's a bed for you too. Good God, what weather to be out in! Have you got decent shoes at least?" Disregarding his questions and astonishment, Knulp stopped on the stairs to unfold his turned-up trouser cuffs, and then climbed through the half-light with assurance, though he'd not set foot in the house for 4 years. In the hallway, outside the door to the big room, he hesitated. The tanner bade him go in, but Knulp took him by the hand and held him back. "Hold on," he whispered. "It seems you're married now." "That's right." "Well, you see, your wife doesn't know me. Maybe she won't be glad to see me. I wouldn't want to be in the way." "Oh, in the way!" Rotfuss laughed, opened the door wide, and pushed Knulp into the brightly lit room. Over the dining table, a large oil lamp hung on 3 chains. A light cloud of tobacco smoke hovered in mid-air. Thin wisps of smoke floated over to the hot lamp chimney, where they whirled up swiftly and vanished. On the table lay a newspaper and a pouch full of tobacco. The tanner's young wife jumped up from the little sofa on the far side of the room with embarrassed not quite genuine alacrity, as if she had been awakened from a nap and didn't want to show it. For a moment, Knulp blinked at her as though dazed by the glare, and then looked into her light grey eyes and held out his hand with a polite compliment. "Well," said the tanner, "here she is. And this is Knulp, my friend Knulp that I've told you about. Well, naturally, he'll stay with us. We'll give him the journeyman's bed. Luckily, it's empty. But first, we'll have a drink of cider together, and Knulp must have something to eat. Wasn't there some liver sausage left?" The tanner's wife rushed out of the room, and Knulp looked after her. "She's kind of frightened," he said in an undertone. But Rotfuss wouldn't agree. "No children yet?" Knulp asked. At that point she came back, bringing the sausage on a pewter plate. She set it down beside the breadboard, on which she had placed half a loaf of bread with the cut side down. A carved inscription ran round the circular breadboard. "Give us this day our daily bread." "Liz, do you know what Knulp just asked me?" "Forget it," said Knulp, and with a smile he turned by the lady of the house. "By your leave, ma'am." But Rotfuss wouldn't forget it. "If we had no children, that's what he asked me." "Oh, goodness," she laughed, and left the room again. "You haven't got any?" Knulp asked when she was gone. No, not yet. She's taking her time. It's better that way for the first few years, but anyway, dig in, and I hope you like it." The tanner's wife brought in the grey and blue earthenware cider pitcher, set down 3 glasses, and filled them. Her movements were deft. Knulp watched her and smiled. "Your health, old friend," cried the tanner, holding out his glass. But Knulp was gentle. "Ladies first," he said. "Oh, your health, ma'am." "Prosit, old man." And then they clinked glasses and drank. Beaming with pleasure, Rotfuss winked at his wife and asked her if she had noticed what fine manners his friend had. She had noticed from the start. "Herr Knulp is more polite than you," she said. "He knows what's right and proper." "Nonsense," said the guest. "We all do what we've learned. When it comes to manners, you could easily put me to shame. And how beautifully you set the table, just like at the finest hotel." "Doesn't she?" said the tanner, and laughed. "But that too was learned." "Really? Where? Was your father a hotel keeper?" "No, he's been dead for years. I hardly knew him. But I waited at table for several years at the Ox. Maybe you've heard of it." "The Ox? Why, that used to be the best inn in Lechstetten." "Well, it still is, isn't it, Emil? Nearly all our guests were travelling salesmen and tourists." "I believe you, ma'am. I'm sure you had a pleasant life and made good money. But a home of your own is even better." After neatly removing the skin on his liver sausage and setting it aside on his plate, he slowly and with visible relish spread the soft sausage on his bread. From time to time he took a swallow of the good yellow cider. The tanner looked on with respectful appreciation as Knulp's slender, delicate hands went through the necessary motions so neatly and easily, and the lady of the house also took pleasure in watching him. "I must say, you don't look so good," the tanner remarked critically, and Knulp had to admit that he had not been well of late, and had been in hospital. But he passed over the unpleasant parts of his story. His friend asked him what he meant to do next, and warmly offered to keep him as long as he liked. Well, that was exactly what Knulp had expected, and counted on. But as though smitten with bashfulness, he merely thanked him offhandedly, and postponed the discussion of such matters. "Oh, we can talk about that tomorrow or the day after," he said negligently. "Thank goodness the world isn't coming to an end. Anyway, I'll stay here a little while." He disliked making plans or promises too much ahead. He felt uncomfortable unless the morrow was his to dispose of as he pleased. "If I should really stay here for a while," he said, "after a time you'll have to put me down as your journeyman." "Well, that's rich," said the tanner with a laugh. "You, my journeyman? Anyway, you're not a tanner." "Well, that doesn't matter. Don't you see? Tanning means nothing to me. It's said to be a fine trade, but I have no talent for work. But it would look good in my road book, but I'd be eligible for sick pay." "Can I see your book?" Knulp reached into the inside pocket of his almost new suit and took out his road book, neatly enfolded in an oilcloth case. The tanner looked at it and laughed. "Spotless. It looks as if you'd left your mother only yesterday morning." He studied the entries and official stamps and shook his head with profound admiration. "Ha! What splendid order! With you, everything has to be just right." Keeping his road book in order was indeed one of Knulp's hobbies. In its dazzling perfection, his road book was a delightful fiction, a poem. Each of the officially accredited entries bore witness to a glorious station in an honest, laborious life. The only seemingly discordant feature was his restlessness, attested by frequent changes of residence. The life certified by this official passport was a product of Knulp's invention, and with infinite art he spun out the fragile thread of this pseudo-career. In reality, though, he did little that was expressly prohibited. He carried on the illegal and disdained existence of a tramp. Of course, he would hardly have been so unmolested in his lovely fiction if the police had not been well disposed towards him. They respected the cheerful, entertaining young fellow for his superior intelligence and occasional earnestness, and as far as possible left him alone. He had seldom been arrested, and never convicted of theft or mendicancy, and he had highly respected friends everywhere. Consequently, he was indulged by the authorities very much as a nice-looking cat is indulged in a household, and left free to carry on an untroubled, elegant, splendidly aristocratic, and idle existence. "But that's enough now," he said, taking back his papers. "You'd have been in bed long ago if I hadn't turned up." And with a compliment to the lady of the house, he arose. "Come along, Ropefuss, show me my bed." The tanner lighted him up the narrow stairway to the journeyman's room on the top floor. Against the wall stood an empty iron bedstead and a wooden bed that was made up. "Would you like a hot water bottle?" asked the tanner in a fatherly tone. "Don't rub it in," said Knulp with a laugh. "Naturally, a master tanner like you wouldn't need one now that he has such a pretty little wife." "Exactly," said Ropefuss with enthusiasm. "Here you are, getting into a cold attic bed, and sometimes there's no bed at all, and you have to sleep in the hay. When an honest craftsman like me has a house and a business and a nice wife. Well, if you'd only wanted to, you could have been a master craftsman long ago, and be doing better than me." Meanwhile, Knulp had hurriedly undressed and crawled shivering between the cold sheets. Go on, he said. I'm comfortable and ready to listen. I meant it seriously, Knulp. Well, so did I, Roadfuss. But you mustn't get the idea that marriage is your invention. Good night now.